Hello and welcome to Space Engineers. I am your host, First Officer Red. No, I don't want to quick load. And button. Today I'll be well, I'm not showcasing, but I'm making a small announcement. I am placing one of my fighters onto the Steam Workshop. And that fighter is this one in particular, the Eagle class fighter. However, as I found that it works best as a drone, I made a drone variant, and it too will be going onto the Steam Workshop. Not in the same folder and such, but essentially I'll be uploading two fighters. They're both of these were designed using only the stock parts, although I will later be adding variants that utilize my mods. Let's go ahead and showcase the performance of these. Just a quick note of the world. It's a small world with only about 4 asteroids total. I actually had to move this away from this asteroid for it to work correctly. Now, to the actual fighter. Before I started filming, I actually made some modifications, which is I sloped the edges on these and painted them white, as well as updated my logo on here from the original one to the one that it currently is right now. In fact, I can actually show you which one is up right now. There we go. Alright, so the logo that I'm using at this point, let me set this down. Yes, I know the ship has modded blocks. I don't care. There we go. This is my new logo. Although on smaller ships, some small ships will be able to carry the full-sized one, but the Eagles were too small for it, as the section here would have covered the entire area here. And in order to get the full logo, I had to shrink that down a little and extend these a bit. But that is not the point. The point is, these are going to be the new Eagles, and they're going to be on the workshop. Now, here's the interior. For the piloted version, let me get back to this. For the piloted version, it comes with a rotor attached hatch. Basically, as soon as you enter the fighter, it can have this rotate in place to protect the cockpit and internal sections. This is not present on the drone variant because the drone is not supposed to have any of that. Now, inside is a single medium cargo container. Oh, I forgot to add this to the non-drone variant, but the drone variant contains this small connector on the bottom. I will quickly have it placed on this one as well before I decide to upload it. But it has a back to this. It has a single large reactor, and if I'm right, no, I guess it just runs off of a single large reactor. The piping is quite simple. All it does is lead to the guns. My original design had it with both Gatling guns and missile launchers. However, as the only missile launchers that would actually fit here are the reloadable ones, I didn't want to take away from the actual shape, so I left them out and just left it with guns. I will be having my modded blocks on here I hope to make a straight version of the phaser cannon. Like I currently have only sloped versions. I hope to make like a straight up and down block version that can easily fit like right here and here for both the torpedo launchers and the phaser cannons. Let me go ahead and finish up with the details. As you can see here, the cockpit is right here underneath several layers of light armor. In fact, let me go ahead and find out just how many layers. This is from the very front. There are 6 layers from the very tip. About 6 layers from there. And about 5 from there. So, the cockpit has two layers of 6 armor on the front. So if you take an impact to the front, as long as it's anti-fighter, not anti-fighter, as long as it's fighter-to-fighter combat, this can take many shots to the front where the cockpit is. However, the armor on the sides isn't as strong. Yeah, it's about 4 layers of armor on the sides. It has 2 large engines and plenty of small engines. I designed this fighter for my fleet's war games, where we take ships that are built based off point limits and basically fly them in. Unfortunately, this has caused the Eagle's maneuverability, well, not the maneuverability, but the number of thrusters it can use in all directions to suffer. I'll explain in a moment. Anyway, it has 4 gyroscopes, 1 antenna, and it is fully layer controllable on this one. Just wait for the hatch to finish closing. Yes, it takes a little bit to close. This is because anymore and in multiplayer settings it might do a little bit of damage. I didn't want to risk it, but I wanted to still be able to get in and out of the cockpit. This was before we made a rule about us having to use drones and never get out of the ship. So yeah, that is another reason why I needed the drone variant. But I might as well get this going. Let's go ahead and start flying. Now, up and down movement is okay. Whenever it goes from sitting still, trying to go left or right, it doesn't seem to ever want to do it. I think this is more of a bug in the game, but whatever the cause is, if you have like it going full blast in one direction and just tap a thruster, so it, well, maybe not that one. There we go. At about 0.2 meters per second, then it realizes, oh hey, you're firing this thruster. Okay, I'll go ahead and fire this one then. I don't know why it does that. I'm not sure that's even correctable. Anyway, so in my opinion, it gets up to speed really quickly. We're already at 30 something meters per second. Like I said, it's got great maneuverability, except for the fact that because of the point limits, we don't have that good thrusters on the left, right, etc. And you cannot see out of it when you switch to the regular cockpit mode. This is, again, a design flaw that cannot be fixed because it's actually because of, well, you can't see out of armor. Okay, let's go ahead and use the weaponry. So, I'm actually going to spawn another eagle. Now, one thing to note, once in a while, there is a bug where instead of appearing inside the cockpit area here, or inside the actual ship, sometimes, oh, sometimes you'll end up spawning like on the left or the right of the ship, which is a bit of a problem if you're controlling a drone. Well, not controlling a drone, but controlling this thing, because then the hatch is closed, you can't get back in, and there's really no way to get back in. Hence another reason why I decided to add a connector to the bottom, because then you could, like, well, you could possibly figure out a way to raise this up and get access to it. Now, let's go ahead and test these weapons. I'm going to go ahead and test them stationary. Looks like only 2 will hit. That might be more because of the spacing, but oh well. So we'll be able to see how much damage this thing can soak up from 2 Gatling guns firing on it. Okay, maybe not as much, but I believe the original design that I was going with had this as a block of heavy armor with light armor surrounding it. But unfortunately, I guess something in the development, because I made this long ago, I guess something in the development caused me to switch it to like, light armor, probably because it was becoming too heavy. So, yeah, you can only take a few hits, but still a lot of firepower you can put down. Or at least a lot for some people. For me, it's okay. Oh, so we did damage something. We hit something. I didn't hit that, though. Oh well. Now, I do have the very original version of the Eagle. Unfortunately, I'm not going to upload it for 2 reasons. Number 1, and the biggest reason, let me go ahead and spawn it in. Yep, there's the bug. Oh well, I don't actually need this here right now, so... I don't care about the color right now. Anyway, here we go. Now the reason why I didn't want, like, this one, yes, it's more refined than the current one, and its landing gears are actually sunk in, so when you actually go to land, you actually do land, like, directly on the armor. But, number 1, all its thrusters are internal. This is just a small number of the thrusters. I believe... yeah, it's got several more thrusters, but they're all, like, pointing at each other, pointing in different directions. This is because when I first built this, it was built without thruster damage. Also, when I built it, I didn't know that these missile launchers couldn't connect to these points. I had thought they would, because, hey, they're missile launchers, they're supposed to be reloadable, but then the reloadable rocket launcher came out and it's like, what the fuck? But, yeah, 4 missile launchers, 2 Gatling guns. Essentially, this area up here, this wasn't meant for actual, like, it was meant for combat, but when I built it, I didn't think that people would be making things that strong. And then I start watching people like Ectosage and all them. And then I realize, oh, I really, really suck. So let's go ahead and see how much of the ship has been damaged by just me maneuvering that little bit. Ooh. Yeah. So yeah, this was built without thruster damage, and thus, yeah. Anyway, so 2 Gatling guns. Simple, easy, I love it. And 4 missile launchers. Now, the really big negatives about this, of course, the thruster issues, and the fact that the missile launchers are not reloadable unless you bring it back to base. This is why I'm not putting this variant on the workshop. Although I should probably try to modify it so that way it can be used properly. But the biggest issue is I want the thrusters to not be as exposed, because that is the biggest issue with my fighters, is with every single one of them, they're highly exposed. This one in particular, because it was made with just like armor. But yeah, one day I'll probably plate it in heavy armor, but until that day comes, it's just going to be light armor. I might just make a 3rd type and just give it heavy armor. Oh wait, what am I doing? And now I've lost all movement. Anyway. When my fleet and I did our first fleet battle, I never actually got to bring the Eagle into play because at the time I didn't have the Eagle. Like, I didn't have the more current version of it. I'll just spawn a new Eagle. Okay, I've had my fun. Let's go ahead and blow it up. Or, not blow it up, let's just delete it. And that's RTB. I think the real reason why the left and right don't work properly is because all the other directions have 2 thrusters. Left and right only have 1. Which doesn't sound like too big of an issue, but since the fighter is 40,000 kilograms, it might be a big issue. Now, the good thing about this is that it can take like a fighter-to-fighter impact just fine. But, of course, anything bigger and it just... bleh. Okay, now let me go ahead and get to here. Oh, wait. I need an antenna. There it is. So let me go ahead and... yeah. The Mark II is the more square one that you've seen in the previous videos. V2 and V2D are the current ones that I will be posting at the workshop. I will remove anything past fighter, however. Now, let's go ahead and look at this. Hold on. Okay. Now, one of the issues that I've noticed is while I can control the fighter, normally I only place one camera to see what I'm doing. But because of our fleet games, I have noticed that if anything like a drone takes damage, I'm not going to know that it's damaged because we don't have spectator enabled, unlike here. So what I've done is I've placed one here on the front, one on each wing, one camera aft, and one internal camera. The internal one is more to see if there's any damage to the aft section of the fighter. So this is what I see normally. This is the left wing, right wing, aft, internal. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing moving. Now, I will be releasing another version of these that has more engines and probably would be a little bit more maneuverable. Now, one of the other things, instead of a cockpit, I've placed in a single control block, but I've placed it in with, but all the armor that was displaced by the cockpit has been placed around this, including one here. So if the control block takes damage, the only way you'll be able to access it is if you basically take out the plate that's like 2 blocks below the camera. In fact, there is no actual way to access this fighter from the outside. So, let's go ahead and... actually, I need to spawn a target. The coda itself will be placed on the workshop too, just not anytime soon, because I want to make sure that it's painted and retrofitted before I do anything. Let's take... oh, fuck it. There we go. This might spawn as a station. Nope, no it's not. Well, it might. I don't know. With the newest update, I don't know. Yes, I know. Okay. Let's regain control. Now, the one biggest issue about this fighter, it can do strafing runs. Yes, it is perfect for doing strafing runs. Except that because of the lack of thrusters, it, oops. Anyway, it's, it will be unable to pull out from said strafing run unless you're doing like a quick flyby. It's silent. Probably going to add something in post. Whoops. I might have actually flown outside the room. Yeah, I did. Alright. Shit. There we go. No, that's right. It's a drone. I really need to turn up the range on that antenna. Get in range. Now, while I'm getting this boat back up and running to do that strafing run that I've been trying so desperately to do, I would like to note that while these vessels were created in creative, well, since they were created in creative, it might, if you're going to build them in, say, survival, it might be a good idea to build the reactor section and give it some uranium before you do anything else. Because otherwise, you're going to be unable to reach the reactor at all, depending on which one you're doing. Probably expended like several thousand rounds by now. Let's go ahead and stop and bring the fighter back, so that way I can actually fit it with my weapons. So that way you'll see, well, you'll get a taste of what to see. Actually, there's one weapon that you will get a taste of that I'm just actually finished. Sort of finished. It needs a little refining. No, I'll attach it to this. Okay, so those are in. Go ahead and get in here, set it all up. Okay, let's go. Come on. Yeah, you all might like the variant that I will be making for Okay, so let's go ahead and do a slow flyby. First, phaser cannons. I will be toning down the damage for small ship versions. Don't worry. Torpedo launchers. These are the rapid variant. Small ship versions will, of course, be getting their bits toned down. Everything involving small ships will be toned down. The current damage values are just for the moment, because they're taking them off this large ship there. And now for the one that I've been waiting to do. 3, 2, 1. The sound, of course, will get changed, but not for a little bit. This one has been scaled more appropriately for a fighter weapon. Let's actually go ahead and target. There we go. Yeah, about 9 shots to take out a window. Like I said, these have been more. These are the disruptor cannons. They have been more. They've been more refined, more for how an actual weapon, like how an actual fighter weapon would be affected. Large ship version. I'm gonna need to show the large ship version too. No, that'll be for another video. But yeah, needs refinement. Needs refinement, though I might keep the rapid fire. Needs releasing. And there you go. That's your sneak peek, and yeah. So, that is the Eagle class fighter, both its drone variant and the one itself. I hope you enjoy these as soon as they come out. Have a good day. Alright, so that's it for this. Thank you for watching, everybody. This is First Officer Ed, signing off.
First, let's go. Whether it's rain or shine, we can leave it all behind. Anytime you're feeling